A lot of healthcare costs in our complex system come from administrative costs. You may have gotten something that says this is not a bill. And if you're paying attention to those things, you might start to see that you're spending more and more on prescription drugs. So, here are some ideas that you might want to consider on how you could save on prescription drugs. Number one, be a responsible patient. One of the easiest ways to save is to also follow the directions that are outlined in the instructions for your prescription. Simply by not following the instructions, you could create other issues. This is a easiest thing you can do to keep your costs low. Also, don't use more drugs than you need to. If one drug isn't working, don't switch over to another. Ask if there's another alternative that you could be using. Try not to mix and make sure to have that open dialogue with your doctor. Next, you could consider checking for generic versions of a medication. Most of the time, generic drugs are just as effective as their brand name counterparts, but they cost less because they didn't have the expenses of the research and development to develop the drugs. So sometimes you can save up to 90% by using generic drugs. But just also remember to talk to your doctor about the potential side effects with using a generic versus a brand name drug. Because while they may be nearly similar, there are some differences. And I have seen cases where people have side effects simply by switching from a brand to a generic drug. Other ways you could try and save money on prescriptions is using a mail order pharmacy. This would also apply to any durable medical equipment you might have as well. Working through a mail order system could save you money. They offer huge savings over the traditional stores, and they have lower prices because they don't have to pay for the storefront, so to speak. Sometimes they offer free shipping, so that can be another plus as well. But also make sure that you're monitoring the schedule because you don't want to get into a situation where they keep shipping you medications. It reminds me of the old CD companies that would say, here, get 12 CDs for $1. And then all of a sudden they just kept sending you CDs until you had to make them stop. So you want to make sure, if you do work with a mail order pharmacy, that you're on top of all the shipments that may be coming to you. Next up, consider using a rebate service or a program like GoodRx. Mark Cuban has developed a company as well. There's others out there. By paying a membership fee, allow you to find lower costs on your medications. You just go to their website, type in the medication and your zip code, and they will show you prices of that medication at the pharmacies in your area. Something you should certainly consider. Another option would be to look into specialty mail order pharmacies as well if you're on a really expensive drug. It's kind of like the mail pharmacies, but more on specialized drugs. I've worked with some people that have been on costly medications, and like I say, the costly medications are usually the ones you see advertised during commercials of the Super Bowl or other primetime events. These folks have been able to save by using these types of specialty mail order pharmacy connections. Finally, consider looking at rebate programs for your individual drug, especially if you're on a pricey drug like I've been talking about. A lot of times, the manufacturer might offer a rebate opportunity for you. Now, there's going to be some paperwork that you're going to have to go through. It can be a little bit of a headache at first, but you forget about that quickly if you're able to get the rebate. I've been able to use this approach myself personally for several years now on one of my costly drugs. So, finally, if you're having trouble affording your prescription drugs, you might be tempted to try and buy them online without seeing your doctor first. Probably not a good idea. Make sure to keep that dialogue open with your doctor. You can also take action by talking with your pharmacist as well about any questions you might have regarding side effects. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.